Welcome back to ABC General Hospital Spoilers channel. Today we will learn about the issue of Martin Gay's potentially game-changing recording that could reshape the entire trajectory of the custody trial and send shock waves through the Quartermain family. The brewing storm at the Quartermain estate. The December 16th episode of General Hospital delivered an explosive development that has fans buzzing with anticipation about what comes next. Martin Gray, the clever attorney who has found himself caught between powerful forces in Port Charles, may have just secured the ultimate leverage in what has become an increasingly complex web of secrets, lies, and family betrayals. The seemingly mild-mannered lawyer was present at the Quartermain mansion during a critical moment that could determine the outcome of Drew Cain's custody battle for Willow. And what he may have captured on his cell phone could prove to be the smoking gun that changes everything. Tracy Quarterman, ever the formidable matriarch, made her position crystal clear when she confronted Martin with demands that would make anyone's blood run cold. She insisted that Martin use his influence and connection to Drew to retrieve the precious family heirlooms that Drew currently possesses. These aren't just any trinkets or decorative pieces. These are items that carry decades of Quartermain history. Symbols of power and legacy that Tracy believes belong rightfully in her family's hands. The threat Tracy leveled at Martin was equally chilling and unmistakable. If Martin fails to deliver the results she expects, she will personally ensure that he faces the full weight of criminal prosecution for his involvement in the will fraud scheme that has already caused so much turmoil in Port Charles. Martin's precarious position between two powerful men. Following Tracy's ultimatum, Martin immediately reached out to Drew to discuss the delicate situation. During this phone conversation, Martin carefully explained that the last thing any of them needed during this sensitive time was for Tracy to create a public spectacle that could derail the custody proceedings. The trial is already fraught with tension and high stakes, and any additional drama or scandal could tip the scales in unpredictable directions. However, Drew Cain is not a man who bends easily to pressure or threats, even when they come from someone as influential as Tracy Quartermain. Drew maintained his firm stance on keeping the heirlooms, demonstrating the kind of resolve that has defined his character throughout his tumultuous time in Port Charles. But there was something else in Drew's response that caught viewers' attention. Before ending the call, Drew made a cryptic request of Martin, asking him to perform some unspecified task while he was at the Quartermain property. The show deliberately kept this request vague, not revealing to the audience exactly what Drew had in mind. This creative storytelling choice has left fans speculating wildly about Drew's true intentions. Was he asking Martin to gather information to act as his eyes and ears within enemy territory? Or was there something even more calculated and strategic at play? Whatever Drew's actual request was, it set the stage perfectly for the clandestine surveillance operation that would unfold shortly thereafter. The eavesdropping revelation that changes everything. What happened next at the Quartermain estate represents a potential turning point in multiple storylines. An unknown observer managed to position themselves close enough to overhear a private and highly sensitive conversation between Tracy Quartermain and her grandson Michael Corinthos. This wasn't just casual family gossip or idle chatter. This discussion contained explosive information that could completely overturn the narrative surrounding the night Drew was attacked. During this conversation, Tracy made a stunning confirmation that she personally witnessed Michael outside Drew's residence on the evening in question, the same night that ended with Drew being discovered injured inside his own home. The timing and circumstances of Tracy's sighting are absolutely crucial. Michael has consistently maintained his innocence regarding any involvement in Drew's assault, and his alibi has been a cornerstone of his defense strategy. But Tracy's eyewitness account places him at the scene at precisely the wrong time, creating a direct contradiction to Michael's version of events. This isn't hearsay or speculation. This is the family matriarch stating unequivocally that she saw Michael where he claimed he wasn't. The implications for the custody battle, for Michael's reputation, and for the broader family dynamics are staggering. Martin Gray, the unlikely spy in the shadows. Given the sequence of events and the strategic positioning required, all evidence points toward Martin Gray being the mysterious eavesdropper who intercepted this damning conversation. Martin had a legitimate reason to be present on the Quartermain property. He was there ostensibly to fulfill whatever task Drew had requested of him. His presence wouldn't have raised immediate suspicions or alarms, making him the perfect candidate to stumble upon or deliberately seek out compromising information. Martin has demonstrated throughout his time on General Hospital that he possesses both the intelligence and the opportunistic instinct to recognize valuable information when he encounters it. The real question that has viewers on the edge of their seats is whether Martin had the foresight to document what he overheard. In today's digital age, creating evidence is as simple as pressing a button on a smartphone. Martin was literally holding his phone moments before this conversation took place. As viewers clearly saw in the episode, it would have required minimal effort, just a couple of quick taps to activate the recording function and capture every word of Tracy and Michael's incriminating exchange. A lawyer of Martin's experience would immediately recognize the value of having concrete proof rather than relying solely on his word, which could easily be dismissed or challenged in court. The strategic value of audio evidence. If Martin did indeed record that conversation, he now possesses what could be the most valuable piece of evidence in this entire saga. Without such a recording, Martin's claim that he overheard Tracy and Michael discussing Michael's presence at Drew's house could be easily dismissed as fabrication or opportunistic lying. Tracy and Michael could simply deny the conversation ever took place or claim that Martin misunderstood or misrepresented what was said. In a courtroom setting, it would come down to Martin's word against theirs. And the Quartermaines have far more social capital and credibility in Port Charles than Martin Gray does. However, an audio recording changes the entire equation. Digital evidence is far harder to dispute or explain away. Tracy's voice confirming what she saw. Michael's reactions and responses, the context and tone of the conversation, all of this would be preserved in a format that could be presented to a judge, played for a jury, or used as irrefutable leverage in negotiations. The recording would transform Martin from a potentially unreliable witness into someone holding documentary proof of perjury, conspiracy, and cover-up. This is precisely the kind of evidence that can make or break high-stakes legal battles. Multiple pathways for exploitation. Martin Gray now finds himself at a crucial crossroads with several distinct options for how to utilize this potential recording, each carrying its own risks and rewards. The most self-serving approach would be to engage in direct blackmail against Tracy and Michael. Martin is currently under the very real threat of prison time for his role in the Wolf fraud scandal, and Tracy has made it abundantly clear that she's willing to pursue those charges if he doesn't comply with her demands. Armed with evidence of Tracy's knowledge of Michael's presence at the crime scene, Martin could turn the tables completely. He could inform Tracy that unless she permanently drops all threats related to the fraud charges, he will release the recording to the authorities, the media, or directly to the court handling Drew's custody case. This blackmail scenario would give Martin significant protection from Tracy's wrath while also potentially clearing his path forward. He can negotiate not just for his own safety from prosecution, but possibly for other concessions as well. The leverage would be substantial. Tracy would be facing the prospect of her beloved grandson being exposed as a liar and potentially charged with assault, while she herself could face legal consequences for withholding evidence or even aiding in a cover-up. For someone who values the Quartermaine family name and reputation as much as Tracy does, the threat of this information becoming public would be almost unbearable. The strategic timing of revelation. Another intriguing possibility involves Martin playing a longer, more calculated game. Brooklyn Quartermaine, who has her own complicated relationship with family dynamics, made an interesting comment about Martin needing to get creative in his approach to convincing Drew to return the family heirlooms. What if Martin's master plan involves using the recording as a bargaining chip with Drew himself? Martin could approach Drew privately and offer to hand over this explosive evidence in exchange for Drew voluntarily returning the heirlooms to Tracy. This would accomplish Tracy's original demand while simultaneously giving Drew powerful ammunition in his custody battle. From Drew's perspective, this trade would be incredibly valuable. The heirlooms, while meaningful and useful as leverage, pale in comparison to evidence that could directly undermine Michael's credibility and case for custody. If Drew could present proof that Michael was at his house the night of the attack, and that both Michael and Tracy have been concealing this fact, it could devastate Michael's position before the court. The custody battle could shift dramatically in Drew's favor, especially if it appears that Michael has been deliberately misleading everyone about his whereabouts and potential involvement in a violent incident. However, this approach carries substantial risks for Martin. Even if he attempts to position himself as merely a neutral intermediary or honest broker in this transaction, Tracy is far too intelligent and experienced to be fooled. She would immediately recognize that Martin was the only person with the opportunity and access to record that conversation. His presence on the property at that specific time would make him the obvious suspect, and Tracy's fury would be legendary. She could still pursue the fraud charges against him out of pure vindictiveness, even if it means bringing down Michael in the process. Tracy has never been one to forgive betrayal, regardless of the consequences. The moral dimension and Willow's influence. There's also a more altruistic possibility that shouldn't be discounted. Despite Martin's history of looking out for his own interests first throughout recent episodes, Martin has shown genuine affection and concern for Willow Kane. He sees her as an innocent caught in the crossfire of other people's machinations and power struggles. The longer Martin spends time around Drew, Willow, and the situation surrounding the custody battle, the more he may be developing real doubts about Michael's innocence and truthfulness. If Tracy's overheard confirmation has convinced Martin that Michael was indeed present at Drew's house that night and may have been responsible for the attack, his conscience might actually compel him toward the right course of action. In this scenario, Martin could decide to bypass all the strategic maneuvering and manipulation and simply do the honest thing, turn the recording over to the proper authorities. He could provide the evidence to Alexis Davis, who has been representing Drew in the custody proceedings and who would know exactly how to use such information effectively within the legal system. Alternatively, Martin could go directly to the police, allowing them to investigate whether Michael should face criminal charges for the assault. This path would be the most legally sound and ethically defensible, though it would offer Martin the least personal protection from Tracy's threatened prosecution, the perjury trap, and escalating stakes. One particularly devastating scenario involves Martin exercising patience and allowing Tracy and Michael to dig themselves into an even deeper hole before revealing what he knows. If Martin waits until both Tracy and Michael have testified under oath in court proceedings, repeating their false narratives about Michael's whereabouts and involvement, the legal consequences become exponentially more severe. Perjury is a serious crime, and proving that both of them deliberately lied under oath with documentary evidence would leave them virtually no defense. This approach would maximize the leverage value of the recording while also ensuring that any eventual punishment for Tracy and Michael would be more substantial. Judges take a dim view of witnesses who deliberately provide false testimony, and it can result in contempt charges, criminal prosecution, and the complete destruction of credibility for any future legal matters. Michael's fitness as a parent could be called into serious question if he's proven to be willing to commit perjury to win a custody battle. Tracy's standing in the community and her ability to wield influence in Port Charles society could be permanently damaged if she's exposed as a liar who covered up a potential crime to protect her family. The inevitable fallout and Tracy's retaliation. Regardless of which path Martin ultimately chooses, the situation is primed for explosive consequences. Tracy Quartermain is not someone who accepts defeat gracefully or forgives those who cross her. Even if Martin manages to leverage the recording for his own protection or uses it to help Drew, Tracy will undoubtedly piece together that Martin was responsible for the surveillance and the leak of information. Her mind is too sharp and her experience too vast for her to miss such an obvious connection. The fraud charges hanging over Martin's head remain a real threat, and Tracy has the resources, connections, and determination to pursue them regardless of how much collateral damage it might cause to her own family. The coming episodes promise to deliver the kind of high-stakes drama that General Hospital fans live for. Multiple characters will be forced to make difficult choices with far-reaching consequences. Drew will need to decide how aggressively to use any evidence Martin provides him. Michael will have to face the possibility that his carefully constructed defense is about to crumble. Willow will be caught in the middle of revelations that could reshape her entire family structure, and Martin himself will need to navigate treacherous waters where every decision could either save him or sink him completely. The eavesdropping revelation has set in motion a chain of events that cannot be stopped or easily controlled. Secrets that were meant to stay buried are clawing their way to the surface, And the truth about what happened the night Drew was attacked may finally emerge despite everyone's best efforts to keep it hidden. General Hospital spoilers make it clear that both Tracy and Michael are about to face serious problems as a result of this recorded conversation. And the reverberations will be felt throughout Port Charles for weeks or even months to come. Next, we will learn about the issue that has been sending shock waves through Port Charles and leaving viewers on the edge of their seats, the mysterious return of Nathan West and the disturbing possibility that he may be harboring the memories and perhaps even the consciousness of his notorious father, Caesar Faison. The resurrection of Nathan West has been nothing short of extraordinary. Yet beneath the surface of this miraculous comeback lies a web of suspicion and unsettling questions that refuse to go away. Jack Brennan, the seasoned WSB operative known for his sharp instincts and unwavering skepticism, has emerged as the voice of reason in a situation where emotions have clouded judgment. His chilling observations and pointed warnings may have just confirmed what many feared, but were too afraid to voice that the man calling himself Nathan West might not be entirely who he appears to be. From the very moment Nathan stepped back into Port Charles, claiming to have lost 7 years of his life to amnesia, Brennan's radar went off. This wasn't just professional caution speaking. It was the gut feeling of someone who has seen too many deceptions and false returns to take anything at face value. Unlike others who were swept up in the emotional reunion and the joy of seeing a beloved figure back from the dead, Brennan maintained his distance and his doubts. His skepticism wasn't born from cynicism, but from experience, the kind that teaches you that when something seems too convenient, it usually is. Nathan's behavior since his return has done absolutely nothing to alleviate Brennan's concerns. In fact, every interaction, every supposedly innocent gesture has only deepened the mystery surrounding him. The man who once wore his heart on his sleeve now operates with a calculated precision that feels foreign to those who knew him best. His mannerisms, while familiar on the surface, carry an undercurrent of something darker, something that doesn't quite fit with the Nathan West everyone remembers. The December 18th episode of General Hospital delivered what might be the most significant piece of this puzzle yet. During a tense confrontation that crackled with unspoken accusations, Brennan essentially dismissed Nathan's role as Lulu Spencer's protector, going so far as to suggest that she might be walking straight into a carefully laid trap. THWSB agent's words dripped with contempt as he described Nathan as Lulu's guard dog, implying that this protective stance might be nothing more than an elaborate ruse designed to keep her close and vulnerable. Lulu, ever loyal and desperate to believe in the goodness of an old friend, rushed to Nathan's defense. She insisted that their history together, their shared experiences, and their deep friendship were enough proof of his authenticity. But Brennan wasn't buying it. He's seen too many skilled operatives played the long game, using emotional connections as weapons rather than bonds. His doubts about Nathan's trustworthiness weren't just casual observations. They were calculated assessments based on a pattern of inconsistencies that others seemed all too willing to overlook. Brennan's systematic dismantling of Nathan's cover story was methodical and devastating. He pointed out the absurdity of a man simply appearing alive after 7 years without any reasonable explanation for where he had been or what he had endured. The mystery of Nathan's whereabouts during those missing years remains one of the most glaring holes in his narrative. Where was he? Who had him? What was done to him during that time? These questions hang in the air unanswered, creating a fog of uncertainty that Brennan refuses to ignore. Perhaps even more troubling was Brennan's observation about the Port Charles Police Department's handling of Nathan's return. He highlighted the shocking fact that they simply handed Nathan his badge back as if 7 years of absence meant nothing, as if he had merely been on an extended vacation rather than presumed dead. This bureaucratic oversight speaks to either incompetence or something more sinister, perhaps evidence that someone with influence wanted Nathan back on the force, positioned exactly where he could do the most damage or gather the most intelligence. The amnesia claim became the centerpiece of Brennan's skepticism. He made it crystal clear that he found the timing and nature of Nathan's memory loss to be extremely convenient. It's the perfect shield, isn't it? Claim you remember nothing, and you're absolved of having to explain the unexplainable. You can't be held accountable for actions you supposedly can't recall. You can't be questioned about allegiances you allegedly don't remember forming. The amnesia narrative serves as both sword and shield, protecting Nathan from scrutiny while allowing him to operate freely within Port Charles society. When Nathan attempted to defend himself by suggesting that people tend to accept the truth when they hear it, he may have inadvertently revealed more than he intended. The response felt rehearsed to smooth, lacking the genuine confusion and frustration that would characterize someone truly suffering from memory loss. But it was Brennan's next statement that truly sent shivers down the spines of everyone watching and perhaps confirmed the darkest theory about Nathan's true nature. Brennan's warning to Lulu was delivered with the weight of someone unveiling a terrible truth that had been hiding in plain sight. "You need to remember who his father was," he stated, his voice carrying a mixture of urgency and foreboding. The reminder wasn't just about genetics or family history. It was about legacy, about the kind of darkness that runs in bloodlines and the patterns that repeat across generations. Brennan wasn't speaking abstractly. He was issuing a very specific warning about very real danger. The choice of Brennan's next words was particularly striking and potentially revelatory. "He may like to go by the name West, but his real last name is and always will be Faison." This wasn't just an observation about Nathan's paternal lineage. The phrasing suggested something far more sinister, a permanent connection to Faison that transcends mere biological relationship. By saying Nathan's name is and always will be Faison, Brennan appeared to be hinting at a transformation or possession that goes beyond what anyone had considered possible. Most revealing of all was Brennan's use of present tense when referring to Faison's influence. He didn't say Nathan was Faison's son or that he carried Faison's legacy. He essentially declared that Nathan is Faison. A statement so bold and specific that it couldn't have been accidental. This linguistic choice felt like a deliberate signal to viewers, a breadcrumb leading toward the shocking revelation that may be on the horizon. Brennan, known for his precision with words, chose his language carefully, and that choice may have just spoiled the biggest twist of this entire storyline. The evidence supporting the theory that Faison has somehow overtaken Nathan's consciousness continues to mount with each passing episode. Strange behavioral quirks that seemed minor at first now take on new significance when viewed through this lens. Nathan's occasional moments of coldness, his strategic thinking that seems out of character. His ability to manipulate situations with a cunning that the old Nathan never possessed. All of these details paint a picture of someone operating with a different set of memories and motivations. Consider the possibility that Nathan underwent some form of advanced programming during his 7-year absence. Medical technology, particularly in the hands of organizations like the DVX that Faison was connected to, has achieved things that would seem impossible to the average person. Memory implantation, personality overlay, consciousness transfer. These concepts that once belonged to science fiction have become disturbingly plausible in the world of international espionage. What if Nathan's body is now housing Faison's memories, experiences, and perhaps even his consciousness? The amnesia claim takes on an entirely different meaning under this theory. Perhaps Nathan isn't lying about having amnesia. Perhaps he genuinely has no access to Nathan West's memories because those memories have been suppressed or overwritten by Faison's. The man we see might be experiencing a genuine identity crisis caught between the physical reality of being Nathan West and the mental reality of possessing Caesar Faison's consciousness and memories. This internal conflict could explain the inconsistencies in his behavior, moments where the real Nathan seems to surface before being subsumed again by Faison's dominant personality. Brennan's position as the truth-teller in this scenario is significant. He's not emotionally invested in Nathan the way Lulu and others are. He doesn't want Nathan to be the good guy. He doesn't need him to be the hero of the story. Brennan deals in facts, patterns, and probabilities. And right now, all of those point to something deeply wrong with Nathan West. By having Brennan voice these suspicions, the writers are signaling to the audience that these aren't just paranoid delusions. They're legitimate concerns that will likely prove to be justified. The implications of this revelation for Port Charles are staggering. If Nathan truly carries Faison's memories and possibly his consciousness, then the city has welcomed a master criminal into its midst with open arms. Every security clearance Nathan receives, every piece of classified information he gains access to through his police work. Every intimate detail he learns about the people of Port Charles, all of it would be filtered through Faison's twisted perspective and potentially used for nefarious purposes. For Lulu specifically, the danger is more personal and potentially devastating. She has allowed Nathan close to her and her family, trusting in their shared history and friendship. If that trust is misplaced, if the person she's confiding in is actually her enemy wearing a familiar face, the betrayal would be catastrophic. Brennan's warning wasn't just professional advice. It was a desperate attempt to protect someone who might already be in too deep to save herself. The mystery of how such a transformation could have occurred opens up numerous possibilities for future storylines. Was Nathan captured by Faison's former allies and subjected to experimental procedures? Did Faison himself plan for this contingency before his death, setting up a process by which his consciousness could be transferred into his son's body? Or is this the work of a new villain who has access to Faison's research and resources and has chosen to use Nathan as their vessel for whatever scheme they're planning? Whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain. Port Charles is about to face one of its most challenging mysteries yet, and the resolution will likely shake the foundation of everything residents thought they knew about life, death, and the permanence of identity. The Nathan West who returned is not the Nathan West who died. And Brennan's warnings are the first crack in a facade that's about to come crashing down spectacularly.